high school, and my grandfather started me when I was about 12. Got a job out of high school in the coal mine, saved like 20 G, and moved to the closest city to try to start my kind of path as a fitness person. And, you know, growing up, there's no internet. I don't know anyone that does personal training as a job. The guy that owns the gym in my town, he has another job. So like, there's not a lot of people that, you know, I kind of had to look up to, except for like Arnold and people like that I'm reading through the magazines, because like I said, the resources are pretty slim at that point. But man, I started this path as being a personal trainer when I was 19, opened my first personal training studio at 20. And over the last 20 years, all I want to do is lift weights and get paid. It just might have looked a little different from time to time. You know what I'm saying? So first it was personal training, then it was in the supplementation, started multiple businesses. And I just super blessed, man, that I get to help people do what I'm passionate about, and now really teach even more, because now I've been in the game 20 years. And it's been a blessing, man, just to be involved and do something I really truly love to do.
Oh, beautiful, man. That's awesome. And it is a blessing, and it's a blessing for someone to have that knowledge and be so powerful and share it like you are. You know what I mean? Like,
Thanks,
you
man.
really are one of those guys that leaves that ego before you get on that track and walk those lunges. You know what I mean? And every
Yep.
single step you take, and you speak the truth, you speak volume. So thanks for that, man. And then we're gonna hit the coal mine. Before you hit the coal mines, man, how was life in high school? And were you weightlifting then? Was it
Yeah.
that's what you were all about, or how was life growing up in high school with your friends and everything like that?
Yeah. So when I turned 11, my parents split, and we had to move in with my grandparents. So my grandfather, who's 93 now, he was the one that kind of taught me how to lift weights. Now I remember my parents working out. Like my dad worked out. He's like a little stacked Italian dude. And then my mom was doing like Jane Fonda, like record workouts for real, like putting on records and doing like leg lifts and shit. And she used to do the ab wheel, but with a rolling pin, like a bread rolling pin. Ooh. Like yeah, right. I remember that shit growing up. So that's taking it back. And so it was always kind of present. And then when he was like, yo, he had been a coal miner too, but he was working construction. My grandfather built houses. He come home. He's like, man, you gotta start lifting weights with me, because it's good for the girls. It's good for sports, and it'll build confidence. And it was something I could do with him. Because, you know, he's like 6'2", 245. He's a big dude. So I wanted to be big and strong like him. Plus, you know, I'm going through all the anger stuff, trying to figure out why my parents are split, like all that little kid stuff you don't really know how to deal with, you know? And so it was awesome to be able to spend time with him. And then when I started seeing a little bit of muscles pop out, bro, it was over for me. Like I seen that little shoulder muscle and I was like, I am in, like, in the way I was feeling. And just like I fell in love with it, and then I couldn't read enough about it or learn enough about it. And it started a path to where I became, between that and basketball, once I learned I wasn't going to the league, I became more obsessed about lifting weights. But those are the two things I worked the hardest at throughout high school. And like we talked about kind of before we got on the podcast, like, because I kind of grew up in that humble beginnings, I didn't really have like a lot of, let's say, like crime around me per se. But the poverty's poverty. So it doesn't matter whether you're in the middle of the country in a trailer, or you're in the hood in New York, or whatever it is. You might have some different circumstances, but at the end of the day, you ain't got no money. So you want to have something different, bro. Broke is broke, homie. So I was just like, that late and mid 90s rap really kind of like spoke to me, because I was just all about trying to get up out of what was happening. And I knew lifting was going to be it, but I just didn't know how it was going to look. But it was the only, in study hall, writing workouts for my friends, you know, like that's all I wanted to do. So that really, you know, that and just watching people work hard in my family, and some of them liked their jobs, some of them didn't. That's just kind of, but everybody was working hard, and no one was telling me I couldn't do it, but no one really could show me somebody that was doing it either.
Okay. So you kind of like picked up your path, like, so going through the whole, like the split with your parents and so on, right? And then it almost was like a therapy session, and you eventually found your passion. And then you just kind of cultivated into your, you know, you put your own little swag on it, your own little drip, and then it you know, it turned into this. So I think a lot of kids don't identify what their gift is, right? So like hearing a story like this where, you know, conflicted with whatever issues they have in their life, you know, be it like a social economic situation or like something that's going on at home, you know, this kind of gives kids that are listening, or people that are listening, you know, a way to kind of figure out, you know, what their path is. Like you figured out what you truly loved, and you just cultivated that into your own thing. And being like, you know, you're a very unique individual, you put your own sauce on it, and then now we have, you know, Cory Gregory. So I think it's great for the listeners to hear that side, because I think what happens is people see like Instagram or they see like YouTube, and they only see the highlight reel. They don't see the grind. They don't see, you know, what happened, you know, prior to you becoming this successful businessman. They don't, you know, so when you remind people that, hey, listen, man, you know, from a trailer park, you know, like you said, broke is broke. I don't care where you are, anywhere in the United States, anywhere in the world, disenfranchised people are everywhere. Bro. I don't care if you're black, brown, yellow, whatever the color is. It doesn't matter. Broke is broke, and you found a way to get up out there. So I'm gonna.
Mine wasn't in a trailer park, but I was in a trailer on a road that was that had nice places in the back. So I was like the poor kid that lived at the front. I got to tell you, it might have been worse because
you got to see the other side
all the time. And my friends that I lived and I hooped with and played basketball with and just played backyard football, they all had money. They all had four-wheelers, not money. Like the funny thing is the skew of money, they're probably middle class, but I was so below that level that I didn't really realize it. Right. So it's like, yeah, man. But what it did for me though was, and I told this to some of my friends later and their parents, I'm like, look, yo, I'm at your house because you got the pool. You got the new, you know, pumps or J's or what, like I'm buying that shit at your yard sale like 2 years later because I can't jam my foot into it. Like it was one of those things like their parents didn't realize how much I was paying attention. Cause I was like, yo, I'm about to have the fucking crib like that where people come to my house and I'm the one that throws the parties. Like it was like, I got to like witness it from the outside in and then go back to my trailer. Like, man, fuck this. You know what I'm saying? So I think that actually I think it did more for me even than being in the actual trailer park where everybody's the same. I was actually out there where these guys weren't rich, but they were doing well because their parents had good jobs or their parents were together. But I was like the poor dude on the front of the road and I fucking hated it, man.
I feel you on that, man. Hustle and motivate, like Nip said, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's who you are today. Or, you know, you took that as a kid and you said there's something about you where you know exactly, like, you know how it feels. You didn't grow up in that rich town or whatever. And I think maybe you just saw the light from a different perspective and you took that the whole entire way. And a lot of people need to know, just because if you grow up in a trailer or you grow up not middle class, that's not your life forever. So a lot of people get stuck in the labyrinth and say, this is me, this is who I have to be for the rest of my life, and you're just telling yourself bullshit right there, and you're a prime example for that. So thanks.
There's an internal blueprint,
you know, telling us that, because
Frank, I was saying there's an internal blueprint that you're essentially like your environment or you're born with because that's how your family operates. It's hard to break away from it, but you have to work at it to break away from it. And I didn't want that to be my continual like generational blueprint. I just didn't want that for the next few generations. So somebody had to make a real hard break. And I just decided that person was going to be me.
I love that, man. We talked about this in the last podcast. You decided to change the bloodline.
Absolutely.
And you changed the bloodline, and Cory did. So that's great, man. So talk about music and real quick. So when you're working out and stuff, what were you bumping and what was really getting you going?
Yeah, it was always
high school and making you focused on, maybe you're in study hall and you're pumping some music and you're writing these workouts. Who are your go-to guys?
Yeah. So like I was always heavy on, like, if it comes from like more like metal-ish / rap, it was like Rage Against the Machine, because they was kind of early, right? Because I saw we were big Wu-Tang fans too, see, which is also, so I grew up like 20 minutes from Steubenville, Ohio. So if you guys watch the Wu-Tang documentary, Ghostface and RZA, RZA's mom moved to Steubenville. So like there was a heavy presence of Wu-Tang around where I grew up. So that's a lot of what we heard. So it's like they was literally like, you know, they was pushing drugs back there, but they was also pushing their tapes and stuff. And there was a kid, I forget his name, but he was in Killa Army that was the same age as me, which was like a spinoff from Wu-Tang that was local. Yep. So like there was a heavy Wu-Tang presence. And like, I know they talk about it in some of the songs, or I think Ghostface got shot down there and like some other shit was going on. But that was all going on right when I was in between like 8th grade and high school. And so growing up, Wu-Tang was super heavy. I'm a huge Ghostface fan. When he came to Columbus, I went and saw his set. I saw Wu-Tang and Rage growing up when they did that tour, even though it was only a short period of time. So between them and freaking Biggie and Pac, you know, I think Pac's swag to me, like really just like I gravitated towards it because I think, you know, you knew he was like all about like doing his own thing, but he also could do the Hollywood shit. So I loved that. I loved Biggie because Biggie's lyrics were just so real and gutter. And then, you know, I had this girl I went to high school with, her dad drove tour bus for Bone. So I got to go see their concert. So like all this stuff like really shaped me early. And once again, I think what spoke to me and what was weird, because I live in, like I said, I'm from a coal mining town. So like I'm sticking out. I'm the, you know, kid that's like dressing completely different, got definitely more of like an urban feel to me. And like people like really didn't understand it. They're wearing like John Deere hats and I'm trying to wear, you know, I got my hat signed by Busy Bone. Like people didn't really get it. Now, here's what was interesting. There's only a group of about 6 or 7 of us at the high school that kind of operated and listened to this type of music. And so we were kind of outcasts. All the females though, man, I'm telling you, when I had some muscles and I was busting a little bit of a sag and rocking them Tommy Hill boxers, like they was vibing with it. So I was like, all right, I'm on to it here. Right. I was like, I'm on to it here. I got to just stay. Different. Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, I just got to be myself. This feels natural to me, you know? And then when I moved to the city of Columbus, I realized that this was just kind of how everybody was right in the city. Yeah. Like, and so it was a weird, like a going against the grain kind of vibe for me, really my whole kind of early high school career. But you know, it ended up being just fine, but yeah, it definitely stuck out like quite a bit. So there are some challenges there, for sure.
So
I like the musical choices.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna, you know what I mean?
Outkast was huge too. I loved Outkast. I mean,
oh yeah,
Andre
sure.
3000, like just his
one of the greatest lyricists
man,
of our time. Right?
Come on, and his just style, and so I saw them in concert too. So like, I was heavy going to concerts when I was a kid, man. That was one of the things we did, and you know, like music definitely shaped me. And I can. Here's what I love about music, right? The first time when I'm 23, 24, and I go buy my first S500, right? And it's old. It's like a 93, but it's like big body Benz. It's big money green. Right, it's everything I saw in all the rap videos. I'm driving that bitch home. Some like 80-year-old person had it. So this thing was clean, dude. It got clean. I put 20-inch Giovanni's on it. It was nasty. But I'm driving home and I pop, you know, at that time, the CD right in the deck, Picture Me Rolling by Tupac. And I just remember putting myself in these shoes that when I'm 15 and I'm buying cars when I'm 16 and I'm, you know, I've got $300-400 I saved from baling hay to buy my first car, and my fucking door handle's broken, and people are making fun of me when I can't get out. Every door handle was broken except for the back rear passenger side. So I'd get gas, bro. And I would try not to let the door shut, because if the door would shut, I have to climb in through the fucking back seat over. And so, you know what I'm saying? Like people, like, that's why I like to share these kind of stories. And that's the shit I was dealing with. This is what drove me. And it's not all about material items, but when you're wrapped up in the hip hop culture and, you know, the mob movies and shit, and you're in this trailer and you're thinking, man, fuck all this. I'm trying to get out and get this stuff. You know, you don't realize that's not the end all be all, but it's cool to have a pursuit to want nicer things. And it was like, man, I'm coming home as a personal trainer, you know, driving a 93. I bought it in like probably 2000, we'll call it 5 or something. But at the end of the day, I got an S5 and I'm coming home and I'm doing these little business meetings and stuff. And I pulled up one day and this guy, he was a jeweler. I'll never forget it. I get out and he goes, what kind of personal trainer drives an S500? I said, probably a really good one is my guess.
Yep. I was going to say that. You gotta get something smart.
Yeah. So it's like all of those things, man, were part of this process. And every little win I would get like that. It seemed like it related to parts of the music and how it shaped me, or parts of reading about Arnold's work ethic and how it shaped me, and like all this stuff, man, I was consuming. I was starting to live a little bit, and it was wild. It's still wild, bro.
I'm going to go out on a limb and call you a visionary, bro, because you envision all of these things and then you made it come to life.
Absolutely.
I mean, like, I think that's part of the process. I think people will negative, like, self-talk themselves, right? Like, I'll never have that. I'll never have this. And that's not the mindset that you took. You like, listen, man, like if I can visualize myself being there, shit, why can I not have that? like, like you created your own destiny. And I love that type of talk because like you didn't let your circumstances dictate, the outcome. Like
Nope.
my boy used to say this all the time. If you're born broke and you die broke, it's because you created that choice.
Absolutely.
You have an option to change that. If you
It's
sit
hard,
there and then,
but you have the option.
It's hard. Yeah, you have the option though. It is very hard. I'm not going to sit here and make it sound like it's easy, but you have an option. Like we live in, one of the greatest countries in the world, where you can come here with nothing and absolutely become something. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm the son of two immigrants, and they came here in their early teens and created a life for their children. And then, we have gone on and, become successful people. But, the premise of that whole story is that they came here with nothing and then they have things now. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? So it's like, when I hear you talking about changing the narrative, like, yo, listen, I didn't want to be this kid growing up in this type of situation. I wanted to break that generational curse, so to speak. I wanted to be the guy to kind of be on the forefront so that my kids don't have to go through the shit that I went through.
Yeah,
and
bro.
that speaks volumes about your character and the type of dude that you are. So
I try to manufacture
I appreciate that.
Thanks, man. I try to manufacture this narrative in my head. Like, I want motherfuckers to be like, Grandpa Cory G fucking made everything different. Like, I want to be the one that's passing the presidential down. I want to be the one that's like, people could learn from the financial IQ. Like the other day I had a conversation back to back like this. My mom called me talking about 5G stocks and investing in the stock market. My son, who's 9, had $50 for his birthday, came to me and like, Dad, you know what? I know I keep hearing you talk about stocks being low right now. What could I buy for this? And then we could put it in my portfolio. Like,
that's powerful,
man. What? Like the fact that like if the generations are being changed on both sides, that my mom's highest paying job she's ever had is doing customer service for my website, bro. Like it's like literally shit's completely different. And that's really like even past what I could even envisioned. And so that's what's so crazy. But when you get onto this, and like we said, you have these visions. I used to always like double check myself. Like when I would get down or whatever, I'd be like, why not me? Why not me? Because everyone has had to say that has broke through. They've had to say, this motherfuckers ain't like, I would never say like this person is not better or this person is better. I'd be like, all right, they figured out something I didn't figure out yet. Really what it comes down to, you just got to believe in yourself at another level on all those days. And even like, I don't really have the super highs and the super lows. I just keep that bitch in the middle. And yeah, I'm going to go a little bit on the line above and a little below, but that consistent, man, for 20 plus, bro, I've been coming in every day, just pushing for what's possible. And it's amazing if you just keep pushing enough and you just don't let up. My stepdad, who got me the job in the coal mine, used to say all the time, like, yeah, you know what? These dudes want to mess with me. They better pack a lunch because it's going to be a long day. And that's the truth. Exactly. Like, you want my spot? Come get it. I was up at 3 today. Yep. I'm going to be up at 3 tomorrow. Like
putting that work in.
That's my competitive nature of how I got here, because I'm not going to lie. I think part of it is you never want it to go back that way.
Exactly.
So you got to keep pushing. Now I know if I just look at the numbers, it ain't going back that way, but I don't want it to. And I still love what I do. So it's like combined with those two things, man, that is the sauce. That is like, there's a fire to it. That's like, that's hard to fuck with, to be straight. Like you got to really be, really,
like that. Oh man, I'm taking that. I'm going down in the
That's
notebook.
Okay. Tweet it to me later.
That's right there. No, because you know what? It's like Frankie has been able to get all these like illustrious guests, right? And then the you know what the common theme is? Consistency over a long period of time
compounds
equals success.
Yep.
That's like every dude that's great. They did it over a long period of time. Took the highs, took the lows, and it just equaled success at the end of the day. And the only difference between a successful person and a person who's unsuccessful is the successful person didn't give up. They didn't get sidetracked by the bullshit.
Nope.
That's what it comes down to, man.
I really don't have I don't entertain drama in my life. I don't fuck around with people that ain't like I have people that aren't as motivated as me per se. Like I don't think I'm better than them, but I just don't allow people to steal my time. I don't allow people to bring me down. Like I move like a ninja, bro. You either fuck with me or you don't fuck with me. And they know where I'm going. That's it. And that is true. That is just the fact of how you deal with me. And you either on the ship or you ain't on the ship. And if we're just friends, that's cool. But like, I'm probably not going to call you on Thursday and spend 20 minutes asking you how your day is, unless we've been like real homies for a long time. I'm a motivated dude, and I'm pushing, to push myself and push my family to another level. And, it's, I don't know. Some people get tired by just hearing all this stuff, but I'm not tired doing it. Cause the passion and the push has just been there for so long, and it worked, bro. So if it works, why would I stop now?
Why change it? Yeah. If you're on the course, why change the course? And a lot of people,
if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. Fuck it.
Absolutely. Just keep executing. Right.
Keep executing, exactly. Yeah.
And the consistency is key, because even when we had Brian Shaw on the podcast, Cory, Brian was like, even if I had a bad day and nothing was going right for me, I know I walk into the gym, a 500-pound bar is still a 500-pound bar. And if I can get a little victory in the gym, or a little victory somewhere in life, I could take that as a win. Even though everything else went wrong, I got one little victory as a day. I'm going to take that little victory today at the end of the night and now use that towards the next day. So
love it.
A lot of people need to hear that. And that envisionment also is so powerful, because when, like, for example, when I was training for college football in Cortland, I don't know if you ever heard the app called 8 Tracks. 8 Tracks used to be old school app before Pandora. So it's kind of like a Pandora.
Yeah.
So 8 Tracks, right?
I know what 8 Track is, but I never heard of that.
I know what an 8 Track
actual
is.
Actual track is. Yeah. Go ahead.
It was an app, so like Pandora. So you put in whatever you want to hear, and it was just a bunch of different like music would come up. So I put in bodybuilding motivation, right? Mm-hmm. Every time when I was training for Cortland football, I had to do 1 mile to 3 miles a day. Then I had to do my workout every Tuesday, Thursday was speed and agility. And I was following Bigger, Faster, Stronger program.
Sure. Everyone was then.
But every time I swear to God, bro, for like 4 months straight, no matter the time, the day, the weather, 8 Tracks motivation. So I put it in. Who comes up? Arnold Schwarzenegger speeches, my man Greg Plitt, and the one and only. They had Cory Gregory on there. And that's where I started getting, all right, I like this guy. Who is it?
That's cool.
Started following this back in 2011, 2012.
That was the seed, Cory.
Oh shit! I didn't even know I was on that. So that's good.
That was the seed.
That's how it came, man. Then I started YouTubing. When you make the old school videos, this is when you're part of Muscle Farm and you go into the track and all this stuff, and that's how I got to know you. I'm like, oh man, just like just from when you're talking about Nipsey, his interviews. That's how it was like for me. Like
that's cool.
I have no idea who the hell this guy is. And the motivation was unbelievable. And every day, man, no matter what, I listen to the same, like, you're like, the motivation is always there. And it's like, I'm doing the same thing. I listen to that same 8 Tracks track every single run.
That's what's up.
And that's where the empowerment came from, man. And the vision was all you guys talking, and you're talking like Arnold, you, Greg Plitt on there. And it was just like envisioning that. All right, I'm going for my run. Now it's all closer to the season. Envisioning on the field and all that stuff, and walk on and get the Special Forces Player of the Week the last week, man. And I was like, holy shit, this is what it's about. Like, these guys weren't lying, So I really want to thank you for that, man.
No, dude, that's awesome. It's funny is I ran into Greg young too. Like we had the same agent in New York actually when I was like 20, maybe Greg was like he's like a couple years older than me. And we ran into each other a couple of times. We don't know each other that well. And we kind of went different paths. Like, Greg obviously was in the military and then did the whole cover thing where I went to building businesses and then come back around into the cover stuff. Right. And then right before he passed away, I'd seen him in LA. We were at, it was like a launch party for something and we didn't get a chance to talk, but it was only a couple of weeks before he passed. But I had a ton of respect for Greg. And actually he's the one that inspired me to do the website. Greg was on the forefront of that, like from a standpoint of like the membership site. So a lot of people don't know this, but my web guy is Greg's old web guy. He wouldn't work with anyone else until Greg passed away. And it took me a while to find him, but I found him. I said, look, man, I knew Greg a little bit back in the day. We have a similar size audience and I need someone that knows what's up. And so I've been working with him since 2015. So there's a little crossover there. And then with Arnold, I became Arnold's business partner in 2000. I think it was 13. Let me think. Yeah, it was in 2012 or 13. And I've had a relationship with them ever since. We're not business partners anymore, just friends. But I go to his house for Christmas and see him every year here at the Arnold. And his like mindset's so crazy because I obviously, have pushed and really, went way outside what I ever thought was possible. And then you go to Arnold's crib, right? And you're like, his ceiling, there is no ceiling, right?
Right.
He has no ceiling to life. And the times I've spent with him and the interviews I had with him and just, going out to breakfast with him and chatting it up and just like hearing his like, bro. And one of the best things, the advice he gave me was after the whole muscle farm thing and I left and he left and it didn't kind of end how we wanted it to. He was like, look, man, he goes, it's all about how you stand back up. That's where the respect is going to come. And he never changed the way he dealt with me after we got through a little business stuff. And, and I noticed like in the industry, as I came back to the Arnold rebuilding, with Johnny Max Effort and doing the Cory G Fitness thing. And I had signed with Reebok and I was doing all these things. And people were like, yeah, this dude ain't going nowhere. And I wasn't just a one-hit wonder. I'm here to stay. I was a big reason why that thing did what it did. And, Arnold was very helpful throughout that whole process. And he would tell me stories like, yo, when I came here, I didn't speak English. You think all these bodybuilders, like you see all these pictures, you think them dudes wanted me here? I was here to win everything. They didn't fucking want me here. Joe brought me here to be basically the king. And so he shared a lot of things with me that was really beneficial. And to this day, I'm really good friends with his son, Patrick. And, I just, anytime I'm around Arnold, it changes the game because it makes my brain open up even bigger. It's crazy.
Yeah. You talk about his house. Doesn't he have is it 2 llamas or 2 donkeys in that house?
He got 2 donkeys.
Yeah, it's crazy. Man.
His crib's crazy, bro. I mean, it's like, and then when you're there too for like Christmas, bro. Like I remember the first year I was there, he had just done a movie with Terrence Howard and Joe Manganiello, and I'm like going to the bathroom. And I walk past Terrence Howard, and I had just watched like Hustle and Flow or whatever that one he did with 50, and I was like, shit, that was Terrence Howard. Then I walked through the kitchen and Clint Eastwood's standing there. Then I see Sly, and I'm like,
damn.
I mean, dude, yeah, it's like star, because like Arnold's like a star in Hollywood with stars.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like and these is just like his friends that is chilling. James Cameron from Terminator. I'm just like, bro, like, what am I doing? And so, the first time I'm there, I'm on the back porch. He's got a guy that does hand rolled cigars, and I'm back there smoking a cigar.
Posted, man.
Yeah, man, I'm back here smoking a cigar, thinking, damn, like I'm here, like it's happening.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I know you were sitting there with the stogie, like fucking made it. Fucking made it.
It was crazy. It was a crazy thing, and then to be able to mature that relationship, and usually when I go to Cali, during Christmas, I get to train with him once a year or two, and it's just like going set for set and all that with your idol. It's wild, bro. It's like almost like you're living a different life.
And I think that right there is a definition of business is business. Don't take it personal.
Yeah.
And I think Arnold really hit that. And it's the same thing with policing, Cory. Once you start going out there, man, and you start taking that stuff personal and you start taking it home, subconsciously, you don't even know, but you've already lost. And that's why being aware of being aware is what you need to be aware of, because those thoughts and those actions, man, that can bring you down a dark path that you might not want to get back, man. And
yeah,
I'm really glad you said that.
Being aware. I like that, Frankie.
Being aware.
Kid.
How you doing? So, so take us. So now we're still in your labyrinth, Cory. We're going back out of high school, and now right when you graduated high school, did you hit the coal mines right away?
So I worked first I worked in a sawmill. So I was so what I did was I stayed home to go to community college originally because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to take on a bunch of student debt because we didn't have no money. So I was like, I remember getting my financial aid. I was going to go to University of Cincinnati, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to lift weights, but they didn't really have a program for that. I'm like, how the hell am I going to pay this 14 grand back for 1 year plus living? I just didn't, to me, it didn't make any sense. Like I never even seen 14 grand before, let alone I had like any reason to take it on as debt, right? Like we didn't own a house or nothing. Like we didn't have anything really. So it just didn't, to me, I was like, man, this just doesn't make a whole bunch of sense to me. So I stayed home, went to community college, and I would go to school from 8 to 12 and I would stack lumber from 1 to 10. And dude, that was so boring. It was unbelievable. And I did that for like a whole semester or two. And then my stepdad was like, they're bringing on college help at the coal mine. And it was literally double the pay that I was making at the sawmill, and I could work as much overtime as I wanted. And they was knocking out between 70 and 90 hour weeks. So I remember my biggest paycheck, I worked 93 hours in 1 week. And so I, obviously wasn't going to school at that time. And the way it switched from, I don't know if I was on quarters and I went to semesters when I moved to Columbus to get my 1-year personal training thing, but like whatever it was, there was a big span of time where it was like almost 6 months where I basically, kind of left school a little early because I knew I wasn't about to stay there and I was just trying to get in and get some money. And so I learned a ton because I learned, dude, I was working so much. I remember one time I went to go see my girlfriend, which is now my wife, and I hadn't even seen, I was like nocturnal, bro. Like I'd be at the coal mine by, 5 a.m. or whatever. I would work doubles. I'd get out. It'd be dark. I worked in the dark all day. I went probably 3 weeks without even seeing the sunlight, legitly. So I came out one day. I know I had to come out one time at the end of day shift, and I was going to see Rachel. She lived in Cleveland. And so I'm getting my car and I'm driving. It's 4 p.m. and my eyes are just watering and I can't see. And I had to literally pull off to the side of the road because I was all disoriented. I'm like, what the fuck? And I started thinking to myself, I'm like, I haven't seen the sun in a month, literally. I didn't even think about it because you work underground all day. I'm there, I get there when it's dark. I'm leaving when it's dark. And so that's how dedicated I was. Now, I didn't love it. I was good at it because it was kind of natural and fourth generation, but it was a means to an end. And I just was stacking my money and I had paychecks. I had 5, 6 paychecks on my desk because I wasn't even around when the bank was open. I mean, it was
crazy.
It was trippy, bro. So I did that for just long enough to get enough money to say, okay, Ma, I'm gonna move out here, move to Columbus, pay for community college to get it's a 1-year exercise specialist certificate at Columbus State where I teach at now. I teach actually a content creation class there now, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's
20
awesome.
years later. Yeah. And so, yeah, it was pretty wild, but that was my path to, having my own money and having my own vision to get out to somewhere where I could give it an attempt to at least roll the dice once and say, can I do this as as an actual living? And I didn't know. Hey guys, it worked out all right.
That consistency, I don't think people really understand how much consistency and dedication you put in, because I remember listening to a podcast, it might have been a year or two ago, and you were talking about your wife where you're working in the coal mine, but your wife wasn't 10 minutes away, right? You had to drive hours to see her
2 hours away
every weekend, right?
Yeah, I would try to go every weekend, or when I would almost plan to where if I would work a late shift, I'd drive straight to her, see her for a half a day, and then get up early and drive just enough in time to get there as we would start work again. So it wasn't an easy process. I mean, I was in love though. I mean, I remember I'm 20 years old or whatever, and I was trying to kind of deny it, but I couldn't really, to be honest with you. And so at the end of the day, I was like, look, I know my path. I think I got my girl, and we're just going to figure this out. That's the other thing is she was so supportive, even though she didn't really understand all of it. She just kept believing in my craziness. And even today, some of the things we've been through and things that happen, she just looks at me like, can you believe this? I'm like, I believe it, but sometimes it just far, far surpasses what, I even could really conceptualize.
That's that's what this podcast is all about, is like you said, the support, the littlest things in life, like support and love. And that's what the warrior's Theseus used to kill the Minotaur in the labyrinth, is his girlfriend gave him a little bowl of yarn, right? So that's your girl giving you a little support. And when Theseus went through the labyrinth, he just put down the yarn, and what did he do? He visioned. He said, you know what? I can kill the Minotaur. I know it. I can slay him. I'm just worried about how am I going to get it back out of the labyrinth. You know what she did? She said, all right, Theseus, here's a little bowl of yarn. Go in, follow the yarn in. When you kill the Minotaur, follow the yarn back out. And that's what happened. So that's a little short story of, again, what we just talked about on this podcast, vision, because the Minotaur was badass. He was killing all the Greek warriors. No one can stop him, but he knew that he can kill him. So where we go, the vision, the support, boom, and he came out. So that's really cool, man. I'm glad we were able to hit that in one. So
it's big.
So when you were in the coal mine too, was lifting, you're still getting after in the weights, or not as much as you wanted to, or how is that did that make you feel like, oh shit, I'm working so much, and since I'm actually getting a workout in the coal mine, I'm not really hitting the barbell or the dumbbells as much as I want to?
No, I still lifted. So when it was so I had a friend, I only lifted with him one summer, but he was a kid I grew up with, and he had weights in his garage, and he was back from college. So I would lift with him whenever we were able to connect. And if not, my stepdad lifted weights. So he had weights at his house. So I still lifted, but I definitely missed more sessions because of half the time I was so tired. But I still lifted Yeah, probably 4 days a week at least. And yeah, my lower back was crazy strong because the ceiling's only like, shit, bro, I worked in between like 38 and like 60 inches. Like, I mean, it's low. So you're bent over lifting block and shoveling and all this stuff. So like, that was probably the strongest I had been. Like, I've been stronger on the weights as I got older, obviously, but from a man strength standpoint, like, man, like my low back and stuff was wildly strong. Like if you'd have grabbed a hold of me then, even though I was still probably way about the same as I do now, like I definitely felt like physically strong because I was doing it for like 15 hours a day, bent over,
Right.
you know, it's
And
crazy.
what were those workouts like? Was it like bodybuilding? Were you actually following a program? Because you couldn't just go, all right, I'm gonna go on Google and type in, all right, what did Arnold do
Yeah.
for getting ready for his show or whatever? You know what I mean? Was it
No,
kind
but
of
I used like this old muscle mag from like I think it was from like 96 that had the original Arnold splits in it. That's how a lot of my programming came from, man. It was like the original golden era. I studied that. And that's why I think I jive with Arnold so well. It's almost like I lived then because I had no other resources. I only read their stuff because that was the best possible. Like I didn't really get down with, I'm trying to think in the 90s, it was maybe like Lee Haney or something. Like I didn't really like fuck with him. So it was like, you know, still Franco, Arnold, those guys were everything that Serge Nubret, you know, Sergio Olivia,
Oh,
like
geez.
those. Yeah, man, that's all the stuff I studied. So when I see Arnold, I always ask him about the guys no one remembers. This guy named Zabo that had these crazy abs. Like I'd be like, what was Zabo's ab routine like? He's like, man, he used to do like a half hour of Roman chairs. Like we'd be looking over, we'd be halfway done with our training. He's still doing abs. Like, that was like his main thing. So
right?
I try to hit him with stuff that I know that was like one of his most, you know, favorite times I think that he's lived. And so a lot of times I'll bring up some stuff like that no one else will really even know, you know, which really sparks some great conversation between a guy that studied it like I did and learned. But yeah, I would just go through the old muscle mags, man. And that's the splits. And I started to realize like, okay, man, how these dudes recovering from this?
Right.
Obviously supplements in the 70s is a little different.
Hell yeah.
Just a little bit, but again, you were picking the brains of people and you were using that to learn. You know,
Yeah.
you weren't just doing the program and doing it, but then you were also asking, why is he doing this?
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, so you're in the coal mine, you're working your ass off, you're doing your thing, you're driving 2 hours, you're lifting, you're just freaking living. You're more than living. How do you say this? I feel like you're really in your mind. Were you like, I'm working to live, or were you living to work?
I think I had cause I already
Back then.
Yeah, back then I had already had signed the lease. Like a lot of my friends had been at other colleges and they were all moving to Columbus.
Did
So
that
at
ever
least
mess with your head?
initially I thought I was a fucking loser. Straight up. I'm not,
Yeah,
because
man.
that's what society makes you feel like. You're not going to
Right.
college, you're a fucking loser. And on top of it, I don't got any money. So I really thought like I was a fucking loser. So I was like, you know what? Well, fuck, I'm not a loser, obviously. But I was like, when they were at like UC and some other places, OU, they was all going to Columbus. There's like 8 of us. So I had signed the lease. And here's the other kind of thing. Everyone else's parents would co-sign. My mom really, she couldn't co-sign or just wouldn't really. So I had to pay for a year up front of my rent from my coal mine money because that's the only way I could even get on the lease, right? So, and I was paying for my own school. So school was cheap because it was a community college. But at the end of the day, like I'm writing checks for like thousands, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
as a young dude and from all that work. And so I think I had a date that I knew I was leaving to start this. So I was all in on the work, bro.
Motivated, right? It's
Yeah,
gonna come.
yeah. So like
It's
to
gonna
me, it was
come. It's
like,
gonna come. Yeah.
I'm already there for 14 hours. What's 2 more? I know I'm making fucking $20 an hour because I'm in overtime. Like to me, it was all like a numbers game. And I was like, I knew there was a deadline to it. So to me, it was like I was cranking because I knew I was about to get up out. So that's the way I looked at it. And I knew that, you know, I was going to give myself my best chance if I had the most amount of money because no one was coming to save me.
Right. It's just kind of like, you know, West Side versus the world. This is like
That's how I felt, bro.
Corey versus Ohio or Corey versus the world.
Yeah.
Man. This is
Yeah, man.
that's
Sink or
pretty
swim,
cool.
bro.
Cory
Yeah.
versus the old situation versus the new one. I didn't even know was possible.
Yeah. And that's what the hero journey is all about, man. This podcast is going through that journey and coming out, hopefully, because some people don't come out as stronger and a new Corey. They get stuck in that old Corey. And then you look
It'd have
at
been
guys
easy.
like from high school that I still know. I mean, I'm 27, but you see them 10 years ago, like, shit, man. They're still drinking and doing really nothing and stuff like that.
Doing
And
the
it's
same thing
sad.
they were doing 10 years ago.
It's sad, man, because they can't get out of that.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah, they can't get out of that part of the labyrinth where they're stuck in the labyrinth, man, and they can't get out. And you know what? Asking for help or asking for advice, everyone has a coach. Old Michael Jordan, look at what happened to him, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has a coach. And I know we were talking, Corey, that you even have a coach from West Side, right? That coach you for a while.
Yeah, of course. Tony Ramos, one of the best OG lifters. I've had a bunch of those guys. I mean, Louis helped me too, but mostly the members from Tim Harrell, Joe Bayless, Josh Guthridge, Tony Ramos, George Halbert, Mike Wolf. Like I've had like probably, and they're probably forgetting a couple, 7 to 10 West Side guys. Matt Winnings helped me before. Like anyone I've reached out to, because motherfuckers know I'll put in work, right? They know I'm not going to break no world record, but they know I got work to me. So they'll always, you know, and then on the flip side, a lot of times I help these guys with business stuff too. So there's a shared relationship there, you know, but it's, yeah, those guys, because they're extremists. I'm an extremist. I mean, I'm radical extreme. That's how I live. So, you know, we don't agree on everything, but we can agree on that. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm getting from the combo is that Cory's a student of the game.
I am.
And, it's like all the greats study the game. You know, we watching, you know, The Last Dance. Like MJ. MJ was the same way. He's a student of the game. And, you know, what's consistent is greatness. What's consistent in greatness is you have to be a student of the game. You got to understand what you're getting involved in and the intricacies of the game. You know what I'm saying? And like, I'm legit taking notes, dude, because this is going to help me.
Thanks, Jay.
Become a better, you know, like, as I'm, you know, aspiring to be an entrepreneur and talking to guys like you kind of puts a battery in my back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we get lost, you know.
We all do, bro.
You know, yeah, dude. And it's like, the hardest part is getting, you know, realigning yourself back on that path, because there's always something that'll knock you off your pivot. And then, you know, just trying to muster up the strength to get back to that, you know, that goal to you know, stay on that track. It's tough. But you know, when I have conversations like this and I hear dudes like you went through it, you know what I mean, but still stay true to the game and kind of just, you know, kept pushing forward, put your head down, just kind of grinded and worked. Bro. And then the payoff was success. So it's like, hearing this, I needed this today because I had a rough one this week, bro. So I got to thank you for this.
I got to read something to you guys. So my new tattoo I'm going to get, it's funny because like I always wanted tattoos, right? So my sister's all yadded up. Like she's got a bunch of tattoos, but she's all yadded up.
I'm going to use that.
But I was trying to like, you know, for a long time, I was trying to vibe with what did I want? I wanted something that was motivating to myself and that would push me every day. And so my first tattoo, I put the coal miner's crest in old school and old English on my right forearm. And that represented not just my gym's called Old School Gym, but the mentality of being old school and paying kind of homage to the old coal miners and my family and whatnot. Then my second tattoo is actually my great-grandfather who died in a coal mine explosion in 1935. Him and his brother, which is my grandfather who taught me how to lift weights. This is his old man. So when my grandfather was 9 in 1935, he's 93 now, this guy was already teaching him how to lift weights, which is crazy. And my chalk bowl at my gym is actually part of his old barbell because they used to be globes. So I've got the globe split in half, and I got half in my house and half in my gym, and that's our chalk bowl, right? And so like that's like kind of the lineage of why the coal mining and lifting, like I'm 4th generation both actually, which is kind of wild. But this is my new piece I'm working on right now. Is I'm actually the guy who does all my tattoos, this guy named Jimmy Blue. You got to check him out. He's out of Cleveland, but he does a bunch of LeBron stuff and Joe Hayden, a bunch of athletes and stuff. You're a real cool dude.
Yeah, I heard of this dude.
Yeah, he's legit. So I like this Lincoln quote. It says, "To believe in things you can see and touch is no belief at all, but to believe in the unseen is a triumph and a blessing." Because that's really what it is. You have to believe that it's possible, but you can't see it and touch it. You got to make it come real, bro. Like that is like, and I didn't even find this quote till about a year ago, but this is how I've lived my entire life with a faith-based type thing. And it's like, because I always expected it because I knew I'd put the work behind it and I believed that it was possible and I was relentless to it. And then underneath of it, I'm actually tattooing a picture of my old trailer. And that's what's going on me next, because it's like one of those things, like once again, I wanted them to mean something daily. So when I have the down day, when I have the up day, when I have whatever the day's like, I can see it on me, bro, where I come from, what I'm about, and how I got to this point and how I can keep it moving. And so that's my next
Sweet.
piece, but that, I think that kind of vibed with what we were kind of talking about. So I want to share it with you guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that, man.
Yeah, really.
That was
Thank
heavy.
you for that. And I'm going to
Thank you.
start that I'm actually going to use for, that's perfect for sobriety, bro. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
you can't see the sobriety, right? You know what I mean? I mean, you can always see the booze, but you can't see it because sometimes you don't even know if you've ever been there or not. But picturing it and like, you know, how alcoholics, alcoholics have recovered from alcoholism, drug addicts have recovered from drug addiction, so it's possible. So you have to vision
Absolutely.
that. But that quote is so powerful, man. Really, I'm serious.
I'm excited to put it on me. I ain't got a chance. I got to go see my dude. They're just opening back, you know, tattoo joints and stuff. So I'm gonna go see him soon and get it yatted back on there, boy. I'm ready.
That's sweet, man.
Yatted. I'm taking that.
Speaking of Joe Hayden, quick, have you ever met Joe, Corey?
I never met Joe. No.
So
I'm a Steeler fan though, so I love that he's in Pittsburgh now.
Yeah, he back in 2000 and where was I? 13. I was in Anguilla, which is in the Caribbean, very small island. So I'm with my family. This is back when, you know, vacation, of course, you know, a few drinks and you hang out during the day, of course.
Sure.
So I'm hanging out with my family, and we're like, yo, so one of the big hotels were there, where like Rick Ross did Pineapple. What was that song?
Diced Pineapples, baby.
Diced Pineapple, yep.
Oh, okay.
So we're like, oh, yo, like we got like word in that LeBron was going to be there. So we're like, all right, we'll go there. We'll hang out. We'll see if he's there. So we're hanging out, and at the bar, I go up to the bar and I order Ciroc and pineapple, and I'm chilling, and I see this guy with his girl, and I'm like, man, this guy looks so familiar. And I'm looking at him, you know, I wasn't even a cop yet, but I'm just like looking at him, trying to get a vibe for him, seeing what he's about. And I just noticed there's a tattoo on his arm. It's a Florida Gator tattoo. So I'm like, oh, what's up, man? And he's like talking. He's cool. I'm like, oh, you play for the Gators? I mean, I played Division III football up in SUNY Cortland, but Gators is my
hey.
Yeah, I'm not at your level, but the Gators are my favorite team, man. Like I Chris Leak, Tim Tebow, like those were my guys. Percy Harvin. And he goes, oh yeah, I played for them. I'm like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, man, I'm Joe Hayden. I'm like, holy shit, dude, nicest guy. His girl and I was with my whole family. So his girl and my mom were vibing.
That's cool.
I have a picture of me and Joe Hayden. I had the Yankee hat on. I had the Carmelo Anthony jersey.
There it is.
He was a really dope guy, man. So that just made
Super New York, bro.
That made me. Oh yeah, got a rep. That made me think of Joe Hayden. And now that we're talking about booze, Corey, what's your input on? I'm not even talking about alcoholics. I'm just talking about drinking and training. Drinking, just alcohol in general, and kind of what's your take on it, especially with training, and what's kind of really what is your belief in it?
Yeah, so here's the way that I look at it. I have friends that should never drink alcohol. Never. They have the personalities that they can't cut it off. They can't stop it. They act like different people, and I've seen them lose relationships. And it just there is some friends of mine that I would actually check them like, yo, nothing ever comes good from this. You don't understand moderation, or you're not physically able to have it. So I think that's a thing that you have to recognize about yourself, right? I like drinking beer. I'm a huge Guinness fan. I got Guinness on tap at my house. I love dark beer, but I have regulations on, I'm not going to drink on Tuesday because I'm not going to want to get out of bed. My training's not as good. I lift really heavy during the week. You know, when we're in the gym, I'm not trying to rip something off the fucking bone. And Friday night, my wife drinks Guinness too. Like, we got a little pub in our basement. That's something we enjoy. We went to Ireland. We went to Guinness. Like, that's so drinking is definitely a part of my life, but I also drink like 2 pints. Or if I have a heavy day, I might drink 4, but you're not going to catch me drinking Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for no reason. So my whole thing is like, you got to have rules. And you might slip up if there's like a family event or something, but at the end of the day, I think that you have to be disciplined around it. Or like, here's a great example. Dude, we're stuck in our house. I could drink every night. Like, no one's going to change my paycheck.
I just said this.
I can do whatever the fuck I want, bro.
Liquor sales went up 200%.
Yeah, bro. But at the end of the day, I know the diminishing result from that is that my motivation is going to be lacking. My training is going to be lacking. My brain's going to be lacking. Like, there's no way I'd be as sharp. So I just think you got to understand really how you operate with that substance, because that's really what it is. It's just the truth. Now, I think by Friday, because I'm high strung and wound up and whatever, like I look forward to a drink with my girl and to chill out, watch some Lost with my daughter or whatever we're doing right now, you know, and eat some wings and try to enjoy myself. We did get kind of wild a couple weeks ago. We was doing Irish car bombs and the whole nine, but you know, but look, I think that at the end of the day, I've seen what, you know, alcoholism can do to people. I fortunately didn't have it in my family, but I knew people that did. And, you know, I think I would check myself if it got to a certain point. But look, I understand that, you know, not everyone has that ability. So if you can't help yourself from yourself, you know, Frank, with whatever you've had to deal with, like you got to get help and fix it and just stay away from it. And that's just, and I've never really fucked with drugs. I did just drinking beer, and that's pretty much it, man. I want to have control of my thoughts, and and I'm not like a control freak, but I don't want to be out of control for the fact of where I might act a certain way or, you know, not be able to be ready for the game the next day, which is my business. So it's just feeling good's too important to me. That at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. I understand how the body can operate at a high level and feel good. Natural energy, strength, look, confidence, whatever. When you intervene a bunch of that stuff in there, a lot of that shit gets out of balance. And I just ain't down with that.
Yeah, that's I call it the rat poison or the devil juice, because think of it like this. When you're at home, bro, right now, perfect example, you're drinking all the time, right? And you just said you got to get ready for work, right, Corey? Let's just change that. I got to be ready for life, bro, because if I'm at home with my family and I'm drinking and I'm bombed, and some, like you like to say, some motherfucker comes to my house and breaks into my house and I'm passed out drunk or I'm too drunk, then what? You know what I mean? Dude. So you got to look at it as different. You got to look at it from so many different lights, you know? And I think you're the type of guy, let's say we've been friends since high school, right? And you know me, right? And I go to you and I want people to hear this because I don't want that. It's like, it's 2020, man. That judgmental stuff. Like, people are here to help people, right? If I come to you, Corey, I'm like, yo, Corey, dude, I got to tell you something. Like, I've been drinking, I used to be Jose. I've been drinking Cuervo every single day, man. I'm fucked up. I keep spending money. I'm doing all this stuff. Like, I need your help, man. Like, I've
had those calls, bro.
And you're the type of guy that's like probably going to say, listen, MF, I'm going to help you, but I need you. I can't. Well, number one is, and Chris Bell had this too, and it's so true, is you need to be honest. You need to be frank. You need to be frank with yourself, because if you're not frank with yourself, you're not frank with anyone else, and it'll never get you anywhere. And you're the kind of guy that's going to be like, all right, you want to do this? Like anything, just like a workout plan. All
resources, bro.
Like a nutrition plan. We're going to make the steps and just follow the path. And you're the kind of guy that if I came to you, you're not going to say, all right, you're an alcoholic, fuck off, I'm not going to waste my time with you. And I think I need people to hear that. I think people need to hear that from Corey.
No, because here's the thing is, but what I'm not doing is about the right checks and motherfucking like enable you.
Right.
If you're about real change, then I'm about helping you.
Facts.
It's just it doesn't matter what it is. Same with motherfuckers that come to me for business. Like, don't be coming with a bunch of empty shit. I don't need you to go be me tomorrow, but have some action. If you got action, then I'm going to help you. If you ain't got action, then you just stealing my time. And motherfucker, I'm going to spend it with my kids. That's it.
Hey,
that's just the truth.
Time is the only resource you can't replenish, man.
Bro, and I know what mine's. I can do the numbers, bro.
Precious resource.
Listen, I can do the numbers. I know what mine's worth. That's not being a dick. Right. That's just reality.
I love that talk. I love that talk right there, bro. Like, because people don't understand when you put it to them like that, they kind of look at you like, what? But it's
they think
truth.
you're a dick.
You know what? If you know your worth, why am I wasting my time with you if you're not putting anything? You know, you're not putting the wheels of motion to do anything. You just talk.
Bro, here's a funny one.
At the end
of
the day, it's just, you know.
I'll give you this one, Jay. This is funny. So I live on 5 acres, and there is woods, but most of it's grass. Like, just the way it's set up, the woods kind of on the edge of it. I don't own a fucking lawnmower, and I'll tell you why. It would cost me money to mow my grass. Meaning, not just the actual money I'd put in the gasoline tank, but actually I should, instead of doing 3 hours, let's call it twice a week, mowing grass. People will think this is crazy talk, but I could be spending 6 hours on my business. Like, that doesn't make any sense in my equation at this point in my life, right? So my mom, the first thing she said was, who's about to mow this grass? I said, a service, not my ass.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that straight. I don't own a fucking lawnmower. Only purely, I don't like to mow grass. That's one fact. But it really has nothing to do with me thinking I don't like to mow grass or I'm better. It doesn't make sense in the equation. It just doesn't. Like, I look at that period of time over a year or whatever, bro, I'm losing money. Literally, it's a math equation. So when people start to really value their time, like, and that's why I don't fuck with people that are late too. I just don't do it. You get one try. And if you're late, I'm probably not taking the next meeting, or I'm probably not answering your phone call. Like, I just have hard stops, and it's the only way I've been able to do this. And this is, by the way, this is not being a dick. This is just making people accountable, because just like MJ said, I'm trying to go to the top of my profession and my craft. And as a person, my best way possible. I'm either I'm not going to like, just like pull people. Like if I'm on a team, I'm going to keep pushing them. But at the end of the day, like if you don't want to be pulled and you ain't on my squad, I'm going to quit pulling.
Time is money, friend.
Cory G is dropping gems, man.
Let's go.
Let me tell you, bro, like I always tell people that, man. It's like time is, like I said, it's a resource that you cannot replenish, and it's unforgiving if you waste it. You know what I mean? So it's like when to hear someone have that mindset, like, 'cause I think like this shit all the time, and people look at me like I'm crazy. You know what I mean?
Oh
like,
yeah, same.
Like Frankie came to me with a plan, right? So I'm like, okay, Frankie had a plan. He's like, oh, listen, I want to try to, get my mission statement out, so on and so forth. Man, he put boots to ground, like Frank put boots to ground and got shit done. So I'm just sitting here like, Frank sets all of this shit up. And I'm just like, he's like, Jay, tomorrow, 11, boom,
action,
you there.
dude, action.
And I'm there, and it's like, I'm like, damn, bro, this kid, and he's a young guy. You know what I mean? Like, he's a young dude, and he's
passionate, though.
He's getting shit done.
Frank knows how to create relationships, Jay.
Yes.
See, that's what a lot of people don't
I appreciate that, man. And
yeah, you're welcome.
I'm
not everyone has my cell phone number, Frank.
I know. Or answers you. Yeah.
It's crazy because like he'll text me like, Jay, like, and I'm like, dude, how the fuck did you get this guy? He's like, hey, listen, bro, I'm getting shit done. And I'm like, all right, man, Frankie, I'm not gonna question. Just go ahead. So
that's what guys like me respect, is that push, right? So a lot of people don't realize, if you just ask, most people that have respect like that are going to do it. It's the people that like, are just scared or whatever. Like, I'm not about to ask you.
Take a chance. Right. What are you going to say? Oh, Cory, you want to hop on the podcast? No answer, or fuck you. All right. Well, at least then we'll never know if I didn't ask. You know what I mean?
Dude, I ask stuff. I put in ask all the time, man. And, sometimes you get them back, sometimes you don't. Like, but dude, keep throwing those lines out. You just never know what's about to come back at you. You just never know. Like,
say about Frankie, he gets shit done.
Yeah, no, it's legit, bro.
I would take my hat off.
Appreciate that, Jay. And Jay, you're the man for this, because
I in conversations in rooms with great people. That's it's enriching my spirit, my mindset. Like it's meeting Frank has been a blessing, man. Because I was
Cory, you got any tissues over there for me, man?
Hype you up. It's true though. I mean, it sounds like
it's the truth though, man. I feel like God put people in people's lives for a specific reason. I kind of was searching for something. I needed to kind of branch out, kind of do my own thing, and then Frank kind of comes to me with this whole like podcast situation, and I was like, hey man, like I'm kind of experienced in podcasting, and you're getting it, you're getting the guests, but on top of that, it's like the things that we speak about are touching people and helping people become better human beings, and that's what I'm all about.
Listen, me and my buddy John Fosco, we run a Business and Biceps as our podcast, and we done spent 2 hours a week for 4 or 5 years. You just uncover, it's like a therapy session / motivation / like the whole, you start being inspired by each other, and we're business partners. So like we've uncovered and understand each other so much more, because we didn't talk about real topics and childhood stuff and motivation, and we both have our own kind of vibes. And so it's like, this is like, can really create a really, really good friendship / business that's like a deeper level. Maybe the only way, and I would argue this might be one of the best ways to have, like, when you have friends growing up, they know you, like they was on your block or they was in your town, and you like grew up, you played sports with them, Little League baseball, you was at the cookouts, and they
fight with them.
Yeah, exactly. You're fighting with them, which I did with my homies too. And they know you. So even if I don't see them for 15 years, they still know me better than the dude that I met when I moved to Columbus. It's just the truth, right? Because they know Cory before all of this. I think podcasting like this has the ability for friends and acquaintances to get to that level, because you're never just going to sit down with Frank and go, let's have a hour deep conversation twice a week for the next year. It just doesn't happen. So this is a way that you can really get there with someone that you didn't meet when you was a kid, probably, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And that's how I've got with John over time, because I just know so much more about who he really is because of this format.
It's beautiful. And the quick story is, in my building is all the, I'm actually out of the whole old Fort Apache building. I don't know if you ever heard of that, Corey. Fort Apache, there's a movie with Paul Newman.
Okay.
And Fort Apache was like when the Bronx was burning in the 70s when the crack went up, man.
Okay.
And I think crazy numbers, man. And anyway, so I'm in the Fort Apache building and all the detective units are in there. Homicide, SVU. So I talked to this guy in grand larceny. So grand larceny, the detective from grand larceny says, yo, I got this guy for you. Hit him up. Tell him what you're about. He's really into weightlifting. He's a great guy. I'm like, all right. It ends up being Jay. I reach out to Jay. I call him on the phone and I just kind of broke my heart out to him. Like, yo, this is what I did. This is what I'm starting Rest for Responders, because I don't want, and it's a nonprofit, Corey. I'm not making a dime off.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want anyone to ever go through what I went through. And I know that I went through it, that I can try to help people don't make those same mistakes that I did. Because now when you're talking about drinking, how much money, how much time, how much emotional just drainage and baggage I use, man. And I wasn't drinking every day, right? I was drinking, going out with the boys. But when I went through my little, it got stuck in my head, that's when I started drinking that's when I started drinking a lot, not every day, but a lot more. And I realized, and what we talked about, for some God reason, I was aware of being aware. Yeah. So when I was going through my stuff, Corey, one of the hardest things for me was to self-diagnose myself into the farm, which is rehab.
It's hard, bro.
I volunteered and said, listen, I got to do it because I know me. Here's a kid that was chasing 600-pound natural that I still never hit today at 181. And now I haven't worked out in 3 months. Now I'm not myself. I'm not making relationships. I'm not checking in on my friends. I'm not saying, how you doing? I'm not even saying, Frank, how are you? I'm stuck. Yeah. So that is what I really am all about here, because of the NYPD suicide rate was 10 last year, and the cops are killing themselves because they're holding this stuff in, man. And just by hearing these type of podcasts, we've gotten some great feedback from people. I mean, I've gotten, like you talked about, I've gotten DMs from cops in Arizona, Nebraska, saying thank you. And I'm like, who are these guys? How do they even know I exist? I'm this normal guy.
Well, Frank, you got a big purpose, bro. So that's where it starts.
I really appreciate that. And I want to go back to what you were talking about drinking, Corey. Was like, I heard this in an AA meeting. And it was so powerful. Sometimes when you sit in an AA meeting, and I'm very proud of it, because I'll admit it, that I go to meetings still. And sometimes there's men's meetings, and then there's men's and females meetings. The men's meetings are great, but this was an open meeting. And some things you just let go in your head, out the other, and you sit and you hear stories. You're like, wow, I thought I was messed up. I made mistakes. You hear these stories and you're like, holy shit, you're not alone. And that's the best feeling, right? And that's what Corey is talking about. Corey was, even though he was in the coal mines and doing his thing, he took that. And that's what AA is about. Elite FTS, right? Live, pass. What is it? Live, learn, and pass on. And that's just what really life really should be. And this guy's talking. He's like, he's got like 20, 25 years of sobriety. And he's like, you know what? After all these years, I realized, we get cancer and we beat cancer. It could have a chance to come back. We beat alcoholism. We beat it. The only way alcoholism can come back if we put it into our body. And it was like, and I was like, wow, that's so simple, but so true. And not even for alcohol. I'm talking about any addiction, any type of food, any type of habits. It's like, the only way I'm going to get stronger is put a barbell on my back. Yeah. The only way I'm going to, you know what I mean? To get a squat, what do you have to do? I forgot who said it. Squat more. Maybe that might have been a West Side Barbell, but Louis Simmons. But if you want a bigger squat, what are you going to do? You're not going to deadlift. I mean, it's going to help probably a little carry over, but
get stronger.
Exactly. So I just really wanted to put that out there. Before we wrap up, Corey, I want to hit one more question about you and this journey, which I
was just going to tell you, I got a dip. We can do a version 2 though, because I think we got a lot more to talk about.
Oh,
go
man,
ahead.
We appreciate that, man. Yeah. I really admire. Just take me really quick through your mindset of preparing for that bodybuilding show and the powerlifting competition in that short time frame, because that's just something I would love to do myself one day. If it's powerlifting, strongman, and something else all in 1 year, that's just crazy.
The trifecta?
Yeah.
So, I forget how many. It was only a few years ago, maybe like 2016. Yeah. So 2016, I had the idea. I'm like, I couldn't find it on the internet, and I'm always, in in my craft, I'm trying to find ways to make myself different because it's very saturated right now with the space of fitness and IG and all that. I'm like, has anyone ever done a Olympic lifting meet, a powerlifting meet, and a bodybuilding show in the same weekend? And I kind of got the idea because CrossFit does all that kind of stuff where they do multiple events, but I'd never seen anybody do that. So there was a bodybuilding show in my town, like, maybe a half hour away, that was on a Saturday. It was a drug-free federation. And then I was like, I made a call to a friend of mine that owns a big CrossFit gym. And I'm like, hey, can you host a Friday night throwdown, like Olympic lifting meet, clean and jerk and snatch? And then I found our gym was going to host a powerlifting meet anyway. I just moved it to Sunday instead of a Saturday. So here we go, and I started telling everybody, yo, I'm going to do all three of these in a weekend and see how I can do. And I was very nervous for Olympic lifting because I never really did it in front of people, to be honest. I would go to CrossFit gym every now and again and mess around, but I'd never land like a snatch in front of people, like of any type of value. So like super nervous for that. I think I was sweating so bad because I think I was so like, I didn't want to bomb out, like miss my first lift and the whole weekend be screwed. Right. I was a little nervous about that. And I'm light, like 175 to 178 pounds, I think at the time. And so anyway, I ended up making a couple decent lifts. I got one event out of the way. I get up the next morning and I'm pretty dry. I get second overall in the bodybuilding show. And then I get up on the third day, and man, Sunday, I'm feeling like a train wreck. I'm like in the warm-up room, like fucking everything's feeling heavy. My chiropractor met me at the gym to like adjust me, but I ended up squatting 500 pounds at 178, deadlifting 500 pounds and benching 300 pounds that day. So 1,300 total at 181 on my third event, in a weekend where I'm super lean. And it was just something, I call it the muscle trifecta. It was super unique. I think people could do it better than me, but no one has ever done it except for me. And so it was like kind of a little way I could leave my mark on something that was unique. And the mindset was, you know what, if I fuck it up, no one else has tried it. So let's just give it hell. But a lot of people know me from it too. And it definitely widened my audience and people respected it. And it was a really, really cool, unique experience.
And I'm going to do it. And that's what we talked about. If I don't ask, I'll never know. If I don't do it, I'll never know. So
yeah,
amen to that. All right. Quick little rapid questions for our listeners to get you to know you more, man. What's your favorite movie?
Goonies.
Oh
shit.
Hey, you guys.
You guys. Yeah. I love the treasure hunt, boy.
Oh man. That's great. If you had one meal to eat for the rest of your life, what meal is it going to be? Every time, every day, no matter what meal it is.
Oh, like doesn't matter cheat or regular. I'd eat tacos.
Yeah. Tacos?
To
Tacos, I'll take it.
If you have one person to meet, dead or alive, and I mean, as in dead, they can be back, back to
Andrew Carnegie.
Flesh.
100%. That's my guy. Him and Napoleon Hill, all the Andrew Carnegie stuff. Like, plus I grew up in an area where his name was kind of a lot of places.
All over,
So Andrew Carnegie, 100%. That dude was a G.
I got one question, bro.
Sure.
I need to know your top 5 rappers, please. I need to know the top 5 dead or alive.
Has that list.
Dead or alive. Yeah. So
dead or alive, I need that.
Man, I've been obviously Pac I think Pac's probably number one for me. It's like Pac, Biggie, Ghostface. I love Ghostface because Ghostface is like, it gives me chills just thinking his lyrics is so dirty. Like I've got super motivated by listening to Ghostface, and I listened to a lot of Ghostface in high school. And then honestly, like, man, Nipsey's really come up there. And it's easy because obviously he's gone. But I would say he's like 5 or 6. But I'm trying to think of who else I really listen to on a regular basis. But I know like Pac and Biggie was heavy. And the funny thing is, like, I respect and love.
That's our era.
I mean, that's our era. So it makes sense. And I respect and I love Jay-Z for just overall what he does, but I don't really listen to him a lot. Like he's not somebody actually, who I listen to a lot of, right? Like a little bit older than high school was 50. I was super motivated by 50 and actually was real close to trying to get him involved with MP. Like that was a serious push of mine. He even signed a pair. I met him once. He signed a pair of my brand new G units I had on that day. Sneakers back. So it's like, so I would say it's probably Pac, Biggie, 50, Ghostface, and I would have to go with Nipsey. I'd say that's my top 5 right now. But I loved it. But honorable mention Jadakiss though. Like I'm a sneaky Jadakiss fan, for sure.
I was waiting for the Jada.
But he's not like. But I only know like and really love a few songs. I'm not like deep in his catalog, so I can't really rep that I am. But those other guys, I am for sure.
And what about
It's a great list, brother.
a trailer boy? You messed with Eminem?
I don't. That's what's funny. Like people always expect that because that makes sense.
I was expecting that, yeah.
But I never. Once again, I respect and love Eminem for what he represents. And like 8 Mile is probably one of my other favorite movies, to be honest. But I never really fucked with his music. It was never. I don't know. I just never really vibed towards. I vibed towards what he was doing, but he wasn't really speaking to me like some of these other guys was.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I got that vibe when we like pre-podcast when we were talking. I already got that vibe. That's why I knew M wasn't coming.
He's not even there. Isn't that funny? Like people expect that to be number one. I think maybe because I'm white. I don't know, but it doesn't. It never really in the trailer park. I guess whatever.
But just from having that conversation with you pre-podcast, I was like, this guy's about real hip hop. So I'm not saying M's not, but you came up in a different time. M wasn't really around when we were listening and coming up.
When we were young, bro.
So it doesn't really, seep into the soul like that. So I respect that list, though, brother.
That's cool. And Ghostface's though, hey, Ghostface's rhymes is like I was just listening to Nutmeg the other day when I was lunging. I was like, this stuff is so. And when I saw him in person, the Iron Man album is like, the Iron Man,
and like no one ever brings them up. You know what I'm saying? Dude. And the fact that you brought them up, and I know you're a real hip hop head.
Dude, that Iron Man album, I lifted so many weights to that Iron Man album, bro. Man, so good.
That's one of my favorite albums.
So good. All right, I gotta go, fellas. Sorry, I need to wrap it. My bad.
Brother, thank you, man.
Hey, right, I appreciate y'all.
Thank you so much, man, for coming on the show. It means more than anything. Thank you.
We'll do version 2.
Yes, sir.
All right, later, fellas.
Man. All right, brother. Have a good one, my man.
Yeah. God bless. See ya.